Good morning, you lovely lot. It's Friday. It's time for Tim's Friday Ascension update from the woods, and every time I come out at the moment I'm having to wear another layer. And it seems kind of bizarre that only 3 weeks ago I could have been sat here in a pair of Speedos and it would have been too warm. So it's funny how everything changes so quickly, and as the weather changes, as the seasons change, so does the energy. And it's something that's been coming up recently, which I would like to look at because it's affecting us all. And from my everything that I tend to speak about on this channel, everything that I tend to look at, dissect and work through, always comes from my own personal experience. So it would be a very rare occasion for me to just pluck a subject and begin to look into it without having had personal experience within it. And for many years, we as a light collective, a growing light collective, have shouldered the burden of responsibility for clearing the negative energy or the lower density frequencies or the pain or the suffering of what we would regard maybe as the unawakened collective, or the souls that are waiting in their turn in the line to kind of spring awake. And at the moment, as many of you, and I love these conversations. I've had these conversations recently at my last live workshop, the previous one, online events. We are all beginning to witness now the power of the collective wake up. And when I say power, it is a wave of energy that is spreading around this planet, a little bit like an end of summer wildfire. There is no stopping it. Okay, it is now a self-sustaining movement of energy. We're not having to do anything apart from anchor the light and hold our frequency, be ourselves, which has been the subject of previous updates that I've given. Like, you know, our job, and this is difficult enough on its own, is to anchor the light and embody this new higher aspect of ourselves, to shine outwards, to be that beacon of light, to be that trigger for those around us, and just being, to embody that mighty I am presence within ourselves on earth is one of the most powerful acts that we can undertake. And it's no mean feat to do so. In order to do that, we have to step through or work through multiple gateways on a regular basis. This test, that test, initiation after initiation, walking through this quite often seemingly endless tunnel of aloneness, which many of us have found us in, where our previous family and friends and partners have all abandoned us because of our switch in frequency, and we're left kind of high and dry, waiting for the new souls to come in and connect. But that's not what I'm looking at this morning. I'm looking at a shouldering of responsibility. Okay, so this became the most apparent recently, or this particular type of responsibility. It's an energetic responsibility. It's one that I feel that we've held for countless thousands of years, where a spiritually awakened soul takes on the pain of the world, takes on the suffering through the openness of the heart, through the connection and recognition of empathy, to see another soul suffering, or to see a creature or the planet burdened or suffering in any way, immediately becomes our issue. We take it on, we feel the pain, we transmute it, we join in the process of the suffering in order to bring it through our system and replace it with something that is of a higher frequency. Now, this has kind of reached a bit of a peak, okay? It's very recently. The core of this release was based in the UK, in the United Kingdom, when the passing of the Queen triggered a vast response within the collective. Many of us were looking at this situation from our higher perspective, watching it occur, not emotionally attached to it anyway, just observing it occurring. But even from that observation point, that perch, we were still being affected by it. I know this because it very much, I began to go through a personal cleansing. Now, many of you might go, oh, I'm resonating with this. It was contained within the lungs. Lungs of the body represent grief, okay, or anger. So quite often when we've got issues going on within our lungs, we are bringing through, or we're cleansing an emotion that we're holding within our body. Now, it always begs the question, isn't it enough at the moment to be dealing with our own personal process, as well as having the responsibility of the collective upon our shoulders? Now, this is where things get interesting, and I've looked into this on many occasions actually, particularly in the last decade or so, because we all had a contract of responsibility leading up to the cosmic moment when the planet was still in the third dimension, to actually assist those around us to clear their pain, to clear their karma. We were quite literally here on site and capable of doing so. And in order to clear our own stuff ready for the big shift, the beginning of the big shift, which began on the 21st of December 2012, many of us, if not all of us, were contracted to take on that pain, to take on that burden, and it served a purpose. It assisted us to clear away our personal karmic burdens much more swiftly, and this has been something that we can actually either do on a subconscious level, like without really realizing that we're doing it. We're taking all of this on, the burden, the additional burdens to our process as part of a soul contract, and not realizing like just why things are so challenging and so hard until we look at the core components of it, the actual fine print of the soul contract itself. Now, this soul contract, where all of us we effectively had agreed to assist with the planetary clearing, that responsibility ended on the cosmic moment 2012. Now, with due grace and doffing of hat to the higher realms and everything, none of us were actually we weren't told directly that responsibility was no longer ours after the cosmic moment. We just carried on doing our jobs. Many of us had to realize through our own process, very much like I have, that hang on a second, things have changed. I don't actually have to do this anymore. Why should I do this? Why should I be shouldering all of this pain and collectively clearing for souls that ultimately need to step into a place of responsibility and do this job for themselves? So things change dramatically. Not just this particular part of our soul contract, everything changed on the cosmic moment. The whole planet shifted from 3D to 4D. But this particular one, this particular contract that we've all had has been it's been mixed into what we're doing for the last 10 years. And in many cases, people are quite surprised when this information is presented. You might be quite surprised hearing this morning, or the penny might just simply drop and go, oh, right, okay, now I can do something about this. This outpouring of grief that occurred in the UK, okay, It was tied into not just people's personal attachments or feelings. None of that actually matters. The majority of it was tied into the ley systems, what was stored in the land, what has been actually tied in with stuff from other countries, everything that our personal, you know, the UK's monarchy was tied into, everything began to release. Now this was planned, okay? Everything that's occurring on our ascension pathway and everything that we're witnessing around us all has a purpose. It's not a random act. So all of this stuff that's coming out of the land, everything that's coming out of people's fields, this outpouring, it's there to be transmuted. It's there to be alchemized into a higher light, because we can't take these lower frequencies with us. They have to be released. So how much of that, therefore, is our personal burden? Okay, because all of us, and I did some homework with this. I checked with various people. I listened to conversations. I watched threads occurring within spiritual groups, as invariably we do, and picked up that everybody was processing in the same way. It was all coming out of the lungs. It was all coming out of the throat. And essentially that is the heart center. Okay, now the heart center is it's the core of our spiritual unit. So at this point in time, what we are looking at this morning is, do we really want to be holding that level of responsibility for the process of others at this moment in time? Or do we at this segue, or this gateway into the final part of the year, release ourselves and say, right, my personal responsibility is to anchor light, to be a beacon for others, to hold that vibration that is coming in, that we're being asked to hold. The next aspect, the master part of our incarnation, which is coming, it's been in the mix for a long time now. Many of us are stepping up. We've heard the call. Okay, so to have these additional burdens, to have this constant clearing going through us, this mix and match of other people's energies that we are perfectly capable of clearing, but it gets to a point where our process now is so important. I personally believe and feel that to actually consciously release or unburden ourselves from that previous responsibility is an act of self-love. So if you have been feeling this additional, I mean, it doesn't matter what country you live in, we're all so interconnected now. Whatever happens in the UK will affect what's going on in the collective field in, say, Australia or Canada or anywhere else in the world, or maybe we're all so intertwined, yet we believe that we're separate. You know, we've got our different countries, we've got our borders, we've got everything going on like that on a visible level, but energetically we are all keyed in with each other. So as a light collective, if you are feeling at the moment that you are burdened or shouldering energetic responsibilities that no longer belong to you, release them. Okay, I've been looking at this very closely, and this is exactly what I've been doing. I mean, saying, right, I'm here to do a job. This job is being not necessarily slowed down, but it's not being made any easier by the additional work that I'm having to do. And in many cases, we're not just leaving the people that we maybe are supporting energetically to the wolves, metaphorically. We are releasing them so that they can then take energetic responsibility for themselves. Now, we are not short by any stretch of the imagination of energies that transmute density into higher light. Okay, this is what the violet flame was for. Many years ago, before the start of all of this ascension process kicking into action, Saint Germain actually said, if you took all of the other forms of ascension energies, gem rays, flames out of the equation, and just simply had the violet flame left, that violet flame in its own right would be enough to take all of us through the ascension process. It is that powerful. And we use it on a daily basis, or I believe that we should be using it. We should be using it when we wake up. We should be using it when we engage in any situations that have the potential to change our frequency. We should use it if we are witnessing something or someone or a situation which we know or feel has the potential to be in a higher space or a higher frequency, and it can be sent simply from the point of grace. So this isn't just a plug for using more of the violet flame, although it is, if you see what I mean. You know, you can never use or have or invoke too much violet flame energy, okay? You can saturate yourself in it 24/7, 365 days a year, and use it minute to minute without it having any negative ramifications whatsoever. It is the one spiritual energy that can only have the potential to do good. So use it. If you are feeling at the moment that you are over processing, if you feel that you are taking on grief or pain or suffering that is coming through your body, and you no longer wish to do this, you might be listening to me thinking, well, actually I do feel that this is my responsibility, I want to continue doing it, then that is absolutely fine. But there are many of us out there at the moment that are spiritually fatigued, okay? We've got a lot to do. We've got a lot of work coming up that involves us holding light at a much higher frequency than we did previously, and we need to be free in order to do that. So this is the way that I am focusing personally at the moment. I'm releasing any of the previous energetic responsibilities that I was tied into, knowingly or unknowingly, that have been coming in simply because that is the way it has been, and freeing myself up so that I am able to do the work at this higher pitch, at this higher level that I need to be able to do. And so if this is resonating with you, take that action yourself. It's changing or removing something from your soul contract isn't difficult, okay? You simply, if you wanted to do it officially, and go to the Intergalactic Council, particularly Serapis Bay, Ascended Master Serapis Bay, and say, look, you know, this is obviously in my fine print. I've been taking on these energies that do not belong to me, okay? And you've been doing it solidly for years now. You've probably been doing it for decades, or maybe even since you first incarnated on this planet. It's simply the way energy works, okay? If you are holding a high light, then you will automatically be in a position where you can alchemize density. And that the way that energy works is that it wishes to be at a higher frequency. It doesn't want to be slow. It doesn't want to be bogged down. It's, you know, in many cases, it doesn't even want to be solid. It wants to be free to move, to create, to flow. And so even the solidity of our planet has taken an incredible amount of effort and focus to keep in this solid state. And so allow your energy to free up, to move, to flow, to be channeled in directions that are embodying self-love for you, self-mastery, sovereignty, taking responsibility for yourself, okay? You know, we feel and know that we have this vast job to do, to bring in the light, to be the kind of like the core aspects or the anchor points for the fifth dimensional energy coming in. And that at the moment, that's enough, okay? That is a huge job, and that's a job that's not just reserved for a few of us. We are all around the world now in huge numbers, and all of us are anchoring in our specific aspects of mastery, the keys, the codes, and we're manifesting them, or we're bringing them forth. So therefore, the responsibility of the transmutation or the alchemization of the lower frequency energies now needs to be left to the energies and the teams, especially in etheric, that are available to do so. And they're all on standby. If you think about the downpouring of the quantity of unicorns that have come in, the ascended masters that have been connecting with the planet, the archangels, the angels, and particularly the dragons that have been pouring into to work alongside us as part of this planetary service. We are now being asked to look at what we are doing, the quantity of this collective clearing, and releasing that and moving on. Okay, so this isn't just ditching everyone and everything that needs help. Okay, this is just simply handing it over to the teams that are available and willing to do this work in order to free us up, to give us the opportunity to stand in our own light and stand in our own power. I think the period, or I strongly believe the period of paying back for the ills of this planet in the third dimension, you know, we've done our time. Okay, we've done our time. It has been, you know, it's been a roller coaster of incredible highs and periods of deep grinding work. Okay, so let's take the opportunity to free up that energy space that we all deserve within us to allow us to move forwards. And yes, the pain of the land, the pain of the collective will continue as the collective wakes up and evolves, as they go through the inevitable, you know, the tunnel, the almost like when you wake up, when you first connect with your heart and you move from ego to heart, you go through the dark night of the soul, the crucifixion, that release of everything that was binding you to 3D, to that lower consciousness. And so there will be no end of that will be continuing for the next decade as people wake up and they free themselves of their shackles, that unplug themselves from the computer board of the matrix. And so if you want to be involved in that, if that's your task, you're going to be busy. You've got lots to be keeping yourself busy with, particularly over the next decade. But for us, it is time to stand in a position of power, self-mastery and responsibility for ourselves. Okay, and when we embody that mighty I am presence, that mastery and sovereignty, we then ring that leadership bell for everybody else around us. Okay, so that is my take on this collective energy, this transmutation of pain of the world. And it's been a lot. It's been a long grind, hasn't it? It has been a long grind, but you know, the way that we're programmed and the way that we've been on Earth for so long, it's a natural instinct to take this on. It just happens inadvertently. So we consciously need to remove ourselves from that process if we wish to. Okay, everything's an option. Everything's an option, but for many of us, it's become a part of our lives now that is almost it's no longer serving a creative purpose for us, apart from to make things more difficult than they already are. So that's my take on it. Wishing you all the most beautiful weekend, and for those of you that are joining Alice Heath and I on the 4th, we've got an amazing workshop connecting to the monadic presence and bringing that energy in. So the details of that workshop will be underneath in the text of this video. Sending you all so much love from my heart to yours, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.